was it? Because it's 5. Actually, we do 3 out of 5. 6.
3 out of 6, I think. Oh, we got 5 or 6.
4. We are. We're just not counting properly.
Be expecting a apology.
No. A warm welcome to everybody in attendance tonight. I now declare the meeting open at 5 p.m. We acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Darkinjung country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to the homelands and stories of those who call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and people. Just a quick reminder to all councillors that this meeting is being live streamed and your image and what you say will be broadcast to the public. Please be mindful of your actions and your comments. Please avoid making statements that might defame or offend, and note that the recording is being retained online and in council's archives. Please turn any phones off or switch them to silent, and filming is not permitted, and anyone observing will be filmed. We have one apology, being Mayor McKenna. Does anybody have any other apologies? Okay, we will just move a procedural motion to approve that. Oh, actually, we don't need for apologies. That's fine. And we have nothing online, so we'll just note down that apology. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll second.
Eden.
Oh, sorry. I thought you passed on to it.
All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. I'll now just ask around the room with my eyes if there's any conflicts to disclose. Perfect. No declarations. We will now confirm the minutes of the past meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Wright, seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Daniels? All those in...
Yeah, so it's probably better if I don't do it.
Probably. All those in favour?
I wasn't there, so.
Okay. Councillor Wright, Councillor Eden, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Daniels, and abstain/against Councillor Smith. Now to the good stuff. Now move to item 2.1. Just wanted to give a bit of background to the walking and cycling strategy before I hand over to the director. What's really interesting about the way that this particular strategy has come about, council actually went out to the community to start with for community consultation prior to developing this strategy as a way to inform its development. And we received over 1,000 responses, and that was via online, social media, in-person drop-in sessions, and we also had 2 councillor workshops. The reason that we are now presenting it to this committee is so that we can give all the councillors another opportunity to provide any additional feedback that can then be considered to be incorporated in the draft before it comes to council at the next meeting to be put on exhibition for further public feedback. I'll be putting forward an amendment to the recommendation that's on the screen just to reflect that and receive the strategy this week. So before we get to that, I'll move over to Director Volgoff to give us a presentation on the strategy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we could get the slideshow. I'll try and find my screen up there. Okay, so just got about 14 or 15 slides. I'll go reasonably quickly through this. Just before, if we can just go back a slide, please. Can we just hold the questions to the end? So I'll go through it and I'll back which slide. You might want to just take a note if you wanted to ask a question. It's a lot of times that might actually be answered with a later slide in the end. So slide, please. You're gonna think all of it.
Do you want to just tell me next slide?
Yeah, that's okay. Oh,
I'll give it to you. You tell me.
all right.
Oh, just can I just pause for 1 second? Do you have any comments? Thank you.
And
I do bike. Conflict.
That's great.
And you missed we're just going to hold questions to the end. So we're only on slide 2. So I'll start with a bit of the background. We do have a bike plan and a pedestrian access and mobility plan, which is a PAM, that's informed a lot of what we've already done. So best practice now is to combine that, which makes sense. You've got an active transport network, so we don't have 2 separate documents. So it's now called the Walking and Cycling Strategy, and it's one document.
It's not attached here.
It's correct.
Before you joined, I did mention that we will be putting forward an amendment to the recommendation to receive that this week and give all the council an opportunity to provide additional feedback. But we'll get to that at the end.
So just also in relation to the previous strategy, I think it's really important that with these strategies, we are getting some really good outcomes. So in that 6 years or so that we've been delivering on the PAMP and the bike plan, what you can see on the screen there is the delivery over those years. There's also want to look at what's some of those funding sources. So, our renewals are generally that, general fund is the green, but then there's the contribution funds, which develop contributions, which you can see it's taken a little while to get a bit of momentum, but there's been a fair bit of momentum you can see in those last couple of years. And with these sorts of things, we're going for grants, and that's what the red is showing, sort of expenditure. So this is a bit of what Madam Chair's indicated, like there has been a bit of a roadmap to get here with some of the consultation, a couple of council workshops. You can see that today it's the April, we're at the Infrastructure and Assets Committee. We are looking at issuing that full document essentially after this meeting. I didn't want to complicate it with putting that out in the public. I did want the councillors to have that first opportunity to have a look at that and provide some feedback to me over the next couple of weeks. I've done that strategy before with other types of functions in the waste area and some other areas, and that's worked really well. Because we haven't been able to do briefing sessions, it's a little bit suck and see with this style of putting out to councillors. What's in the report is the main details that are in the walking and cycling strategy. So the plan is that today we'll go through the slide deck and questions at the end. In May, I'll report to the full council. So it's actually considered at a full council to go out to exhibition. Then we'll have that exhibition period, make some adjustments, and then I'll bring something back to the full council. So again, what Madam Chair has indicated, that this is a pictorial of some of the consultation that we did. As I said, I'm not going to go through everything there, but that social pinpoint, that little map on the right is sort of indicating all the numbers of submissions that we got through social pinpointing. We have pop-up session or drop-in sessions as well. Just up on the top right, some of those themes, and this is not inconsistent with some of the workshops, around, those missing links. So a couple of those first ones up the top there are, regional and local missing links, improving access to all the destinations, safety around whilst you're using the network, looking at around schools, manage the shared paths in busy areas, having well-maintained paths, and there's that amenity, comfort, wayfinding, and how we build trust with the delivery of this. So the actual strategy is broken up into, I suppose, 5 themes, outcomes, objectives there, to increase walking access to the key destinations and the centres. So enhance bicycle network connectivity, accessibility, make walking and cycling safe, easy and comfortable, provide supporting elements in the right places, and increasing the walking cycling participation and confidence. Next slide. So I'm going to go through a little bit more detail the actual actions. So, and these are all obviously in the report. So within those themes, I'll just go through some of those actions. So one of the big things is having a prioritisation framework. So we get a lot of different requests, and we've got to look at how we're going to prioritise that. So I think that's probably one of the components of this strategy. There's also those other important elements such as the curb ramps. So we look at delivering those as well as within this strategy. The current width of the footpath generally is 1.5 metres. Industry is suggesting to make it slightly wider to the 1.8. So that's also probably reasonably significant change. I've done these a few over the decades, and they started at 1 metre, then 1.2, and then 1.5. So that seems to be a bit of a trend. 1 metre is a bit. I know. Audit existing regional paths and shared paths to look at an improvement program. Deliver these paths in accordance with the strategy. And the other one, sort of similar to 2.1, is increase the maximum shared path to 4 metres. Currently, it's 2.5. Now, I will put a bit of a disclaimer on that. It is subject to widths and those sorts of things. So it wouldn't be something that would be blanket 4 metres everywhere. That does add some cost to it. Move to that next.
When you say regional, I'm allowed to ask a question now. What's regional?
I'm going to be talking about that.
I forget. Every time you read.
All right.
Write that down.
But I'll. So as we're moving through, again, mention. So as we do these things, the renewal side of things are in accordance with our asset management plans. There's also service levels that we're working to, and as these things change, our civil work specifications and drawings needs to also change based on what's resolved in here, so that when developers do work, they're doing it to these new specifications. The other things that's going to help with it, probably the softer areas, some digital mapping. So we have brochures that show our cycle routes and sort of the level of difficulty and those sorts of things within, so people can choose their routes a little bit better. Update public websites. So we do have the opportunity with things like Google Maps to get in early when we finish projects. So sometimes that hasn't happened and takes a bit of time. I want to make sure there's a seamless way of making sure that we get in there and update those, because a lot of people don't actually use a council system. They'll just use their smartphone, and it will tell you if you've got something. We can do it now. Let's have it in Google Maps at the moment. So That's part of an updating process. And then you're looking at the end of trip facilities. So, audit and map the bike racks, storage and drinking fountains to establish, baseline service levels. So, what we've got on our networks. So the home stretch here. So implement the missing links. So implement, deliver the new priority pathways program, target those missing link footpaths, engaging with schools. So obviously that's a target area that's come from the community and from the councillors in the discussions previously. And then looking at the minor capital works, which looks at some of those safety, where you're looking at line marking, refuge islands and those sorts of things to assist. Next one. So the prioritisation, I suppose, matrix is what this is, and this is what's going to be implemented over 12 months. How I see this working is that we would develop that over this next period, 12 months or so, and I'd have councillor workshops in, similar to what I did with the roads, so that we could look at how that pans out, and that would then inform the the following few years program. So some of those main tiles are looking at community need and demand. So areas around schools, town centres, tourism hubs, etc. Looking at this safety and inclusion. So overall was how do you get kids under 8 and people over 80 feeling comfortable using the network to things. The location and complexity. So having the ability to be able to coordinate with other projects, might give us some opportunity to leverage off funds and just practicality and looking at making sure the designs work and that they're deliverable in that last slide. So an earlier question that I didn't get was around regional routes and secondary routes. It's there too. So you've got really your lake loops that you can see in front of you at the top, starting with the red one, and you go the yellow, those dots there. They're our regional routes. They're established from the work we did with the bike plan and the PAM. And then we've got our secondary routes, so A, B, C.
Does it exist yet, I assume?
I don't think they're all built, are they?
No. So these are the plan. This is the plan.
Yeah.
But not some things that look at. Yeah, for instance, to the right. Other projects that we've in design and being in design. So I might just start. I've got these next 3 slides that show, and I'm not expecting you to see the detail up to the right there, but we've got our disaster information and information on our paths. The blue is some, take the top right, that is Terrigal. So the blue is current footpaths, the green is current shared paths, and the red would be the missing link. So we've got, for example, that level of detail in our systems. So some of those short links, as I said, they're only a couple of 100 metres, and we can do a lot with filling in those missing links. I've mentioned about contribution plans, and there's another slide in relation to that as well. Let's just keep skipping to the next slide. So, like I mentioned before, the prioritisation gets us to be able to compare against any area. So, and through that sort of half moon, it's assessed against those safety, community needs, location, deliverability, etc. So we've got, if we develop that, I think that'd be a good way of comparing against all projects. So we're not favourite, playing favourites, I suppose. And that slide. So councillors will recall that as part of the budget preparation, there was $250,000 for the next, I think it's actually 4 years, not 3 years. So it was $1 million over 4 years that's on public exhibition now. So that will obviously go through the operational development, the delivery and operational plan process, and that might get up. But we do have in the budget, $1 million a year from 29 to do this sort of work, and obviously be looking at future grant funding. Some of the things that can get us going quickly, some of the simpler things, they call it scrape and lay, where you don't need curb and gutter, all that sort of stuff can go reasonably quickly, and some of those shorter intervals. So that's covering off on that. And I only got another, this is the second last slide, so bear with me. So we've got, I've mentioned the prioritisation framework to deal with a lot of requests. So we do get a lot of requests for this, and we'll be able to put one project up against another. And I'd be looking at, as I indicated earlier, having a 4-year program, and I think it's in line with the next process, budget cycle. I'll be looking at having a workshop, with the councillors to go through that. And so this is where we're at. It's the shorter version of what I showed you a little bit earlier in relation to going to council in May, and then the exhibition process, and then ultimately ending back up at council in August. What's to the right is just a little bit of an example of how we'd grade some of the routes. So you'd have greens like some of the easier routes, and amber might be on road cycling, but be low traffic, and red would be for some of the sort of like to in amongst other vehicles. And that's the end of the presentation. So
now open it up to questions.
and I'll try and answer some questions. I've also got Anush Sharma here to be able to assist in anything as we go through.
Councillor Neil.
The first question is in relation to the bit you've marked as red, the missing parts. Have you done a cost estimate of what that work would be?
No.
Is that possible for you to do?
Not for council, not for this period. So that's why I'd say, over the next 12 months, we're going to be doing the.
So you're saying you can't do it, or you don't want to do it?
Like, first, we need to adopt the strategy, and then there's about 6 months worth of work to get some of this stuff into the system, and we will be doing that for these centres and grading these and costing these. But that takes time. So that's for that next cycle of budgeting.
So are we looking at more like, we've got 2 million already. I'm just trying to get an idea of the quantum. I don't need precise costing, but are we talking about, we've got 2 million already, are we talking about another 2 or are we talking about another 20?
We haven't costed these yet.
You know,
So this is a strategy.
Oh, no, I understand that, Director, but I'm just trying to get an idea of what we need to look at over. The idea.
I couldn't give it for these. These ones will be costed. What we've also got to understand is that it's going to be a request for other locations that aren't in those 6 town centres.
Oh, no, I understand.
So it's almost like unlimited.
I'm talking about just this particular red bit that we've already identified. I mean, obviously we expanded out, but.
So these are the 6 maps, the 6 locations that we've got some data around. And I understand that's, can be costed over that while we're doing the matrix.
Yeah, so the second last slide shows the timeline. At the moment, we are in the process of collating all that information and then applying the unit rates. Now, unit rates are rapidly changing with the cost of acquisition of materials and things like that as well. But we are using all of that information to then provide a works program or work prioritization program in the next 12 months. That's the plan at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not really talking about that sort of fine detail.
Yes.
I'm just trying to get a broad brush
In
idea.
terms of the budget,
Yeah,
I
well,
think I
However,
understand.
yeah, so just so I get an idea in my mind of what we're trying to achieve if we want to do that, because obviously I think it's a pretty high priority. But it's no point waiting until the budget next year and then suddenly go, oh, we need this money.
Yeah, I think, there is money in the budget. So I think that's a good thing to start. Then it might be, okay, once we've got that information, we've got the matrix, we've got those town centres, then it might be a position that council goes, well, maybe we need some more, or maybe we want too much. So I think that's the point, but we won't be ready for that.
Okay, I'll leave it alone. Just a few issues I wanted to raise with you and check. There's quite a few areas on the peninsula where there's actually bike paths along both sides of the road, which seems a bit, to me, a bit silly that we're using that space. And what tends to, in particular, the example I'd give you is outside on Veron Road, outside the Water High School. There's actually bike lanes on both sides. Obviously, it's important because it's leading to the school and lots of kids do cycle and a lot of people around the peninsula cycle. But the cars park in it, generally on both sides, as well as having a bike path on both. So it ends up being quite useful as a bike path. What is the policy about bike paths and parking?
Well, my understanding, you can't park on a cycleway.
Oh, let me tell you, they're doing it on Veron Road.
I think that's an individual thing that we can take offline and have a look at that.
Yeah. But it just about that issue of whether we should do it on both sides, it just seems a waste of resources. And when you
Perhaps, can I suggest that maybe when we get to the motion and we're going to receive the strategy, perhaps that's some feedback that you could provide to the director to have a look at as part of the strategy.
yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Well, we have an opportunity as councillors to do this outside of the meeting.
I thought the purpose of the committee meeting was to give feedback.
But look, there's 2 ways. I think there's a confusion around, there is cycleway, as in a concrete formed cycleway, and what you're talking about is stenciled line marking on roads, which are two very different things. They can be just logos.
So you don't consider that part of this plan? So
This is mainly to do with
only those
the path type of things, and then there would be opportunity where you can't do some of that stuff is to look at it on road.
So does this plan deal with those on-road cycleways or?
It's predominantly do with the path component. Do you want to add any more just in relation to the on-road component?
Yeah, just looking at the road, for example, one side of it is actually road shoulder. While we're not supposed to park there, and if people are parking, they're actually not complying with the requirements in terms of parking itself. People may use that as a cycleway, but it is actually road shoulder. On the other side, there is
Both marked with bike cycleways on both sides of their own road.
yeah, there's a small section, yeah, that is within that as an on-road cycling component. So people are not supposed to park there.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, I suppose, a compliance issue where people are not complying with the
There's
requirements.
no signs, or should people just know?
Yeah, you're not supposed to park on.
Yeah.
No one knows what it's
I
like.
think we can take that one offline.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm going to move to Councillor Wright.
Just a question either for the director or one of the staff. You mentioned, because this will affect the strategy from next year. Obviously, at the moment, something my committee is looking at is the cost of building materials and petrol and diesel going up. You mentioned the rates for construction have increased. Do you have a rough figure on what that looks like?
At the moment, it's we're still using the prior rates because these are rates that are fixed. But as we move forward, start to get newer rates. At the moment, we're feeling it out because some of the contractors have been talking about additional fuel costs on top of it. So we're trying to get those unit rates. We haven't got it, but as part of the costing of the projects, we'll start to filter that information through.
I'm just thinking of it in the context of, I think when everyone thinks of the Middle East crisis, they think of petrol and diesel, but it's also concrete, plastic,
Steel.
bitumen,
Supply.
asphalt.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
Sense.
Look, I think that's probably outside the strategy, just suppose completeness. There is a business continuity and some that is dealing with that for council. That's looking at, current budget and future budget.
sure. It was only just if you happen to know the rate.
Yeah.
I don't have anything further on, that's fine.
Slade.
Yeah, I've got a few questions, Chair, but cut me off when you're wanting somebody else to go. So partly on the last point, but I'm a bit concerned actually about the move to wider footpaths, even though it's nice. It's a cost issue, isn't it? So if as a result we get less footpaths, I'd rather have a 1.2. I agree 1 metre is too small, but 1.2 or 1.5 rather than 1.8, and get more bang for our buck effectively, or more, kilometres of cycleway and footpath. I suppose that's more of a comment, but what's the breakup then between shared pathways and footpaths? How do we justify which is which? My view is footpaths are probably more important at this stage than shared cycleways or shared paths, but they're both important.
So the network that we've got pretty much established the shared path network, and everything else is also a footpath. So that's our primary and secondary routes, as well as there is some things in construction plans.
You're not actually meant to ride on footpaths, are you?
No, only if you're under 16. Like there's some rules around that.
If you're
Right.
under 6, I think it's
Under
younger than that, maybe 13, and you have to have a parent there.
16.
Adult.
16.
There you go.
Under 16, you can have a parent if you're with under 16-year-olds.
Right. The new development.
So can I just get that? Same sort of commentary in relation to shared path, like the 4 metres to the 2.5. as well.
I think so, yeah.
What's the reason for the increase in width? Like as I mean, obviously you said it's an emerging sort of standard, but why?
I think that's the like volume, how close you are to traffic, and also those sorts of things.
Yeah, so Roads provides us with a spec. That's an industry guideline provider, and the reason for it is quite recently the conversations about this strategy has been it will allow two people with prams and accompanying parent to cross each other.
Right.
And so these are the considerations they're put in so that there's less accidents in case somebody's walking the pram and somebody riding the bicycle on the shared pathway itself. It provides that safer access. However, it depends on the location as well. So we don't have to specifically have 4 meters everywhere. It depends on the location and the compliance component. If you don't have the meters, but still build a network. You can still build it smaller. But it's just giving that consideration that where allowable, we can provide that.
So when you say two parents with a pram and somebody to pass each other, is that a 3-person width or is that?
No. It's just allowing right now. It's the width that they're allowing for. This is the conversation they have.
Yeah.
The 4 meters that isn't finalized yet. But
Yeah, sure. I mean, I tend to agree. In an ideal world, it would be nice, but it's probably not entirely necessary unless it's civic safety or legal requirement.
Yeah. You normally have a line mark section and
Yeah.
allowing two-way traffic. So that just allows for that as more of a safer route. If you talk about some of the primary routes to look at it, people are very active. And
Yeah.
So allows for that slow moving and fast moving.
I just have one more page, and that's obviously up in the plywood, if you like. You've got the new development, and with new development, generally they're getting footpaths and the like. So does our plan then know what's going to happen, and so that we're having the missing links, if you like, put in to connect to the new development?
Yes, and like I'll answer, like the new development will have footpath on one side, so that's
Yes, but there was often a
and then strategy will identify that there is that missing link that will give it a priority. So yes.
So,
So I was sorry, now I've lost my train of thought. So I was just wondering, with that table, are those actions the entire number of actions for each objective, or are they just a sample?
It's actions and there's also measures. Is there anything else?
So I'm looking at the table that says objective, action, and then unit responsibility. So are those 3 actions against each in each section? Is that the total number of actions?
I think that's the total number of actions, but there is additional measures that will be held accountable for.
Okay, so
be part of what I will give you tomorrow.
okay, yeah. So look, I'm obviously very, very keen to see more walking and cycling in the Central Coast. So I think it's great. But I am just wondering, with increased hard surfaces and all the downsides of that as well, which are inevitable. So is it the same technology that we've been using forever in terms of concrete and those things, or is there any innovation along? And I'm thinking heat island, all that kind of stuff, and heat reflection, and I know it mentions shade in one of the in one part, but it's not clear to me what priority we're putting on that in terms of amenity for people to be using these footpaths and cycleways. So so I guess that's more a comment. If there's not a specific answer, that I'd really like to see how that is prioritised in some way, because it's a world of difference riding or walking on a cycleway or footpath that has no shade compared to one that does have shade, and much more, much better. And then just again, in terms of those actions, I noticed the last one about increased walking and cycling participation. I guess my comment is, I mean, I think you've got there is fine. I guess it doesn't convey a strong emphasis on the engagement other than providing people with the maps. It talks about engaging schools, but I suppose I'd like to see stronger proactive engagement and promotion, which I think council does relatively well. I know a lot of people commend a lot of our cycleways and footpaths, but they don't. But especially in terms of the schools, and I know it mentions that. Do we do the walking school bus stuff? Do we have a transport education person we do?
You're right.
Road safety officers.
Yeah.
We don't actually actively engage in the walking bus to school until we see better connections around schools. And that is one of the focus areas in the strategy.
Okay, so at some point in this whole process, could I get an understanding of where we are doing it, where we might do it, like what we might do in the future in terms of that proactive engagement and initiatives? Yeah. That's okay.
Or if I can add a little more.
Go for it.
The traffic team has recently gone to all the schools and done an audit of what pedestrian and footpath facilities around the schools. We'll now be working with an urges team to say, here's what's required, here's what needed. We also work with Department of Education on helping and looking at access points and where's best to provide that infrastructure. And the idea is that then we'll go out to all the schools again and write to them and say, this is what we think is good for your school. What's your feedback?
That just reminds me, there was some funding, was it 6 months or 12 months
Kids.
ago?
Active kids.
I don't know if that's the one or not, but it might have been.
Don't know the outcome yet, but we lodge it.
Okay, fine. So Director, do you write down some of those comments?
I've written down.
And how will I know that you've now taken them seriously? I've just written them down.
Okay, we are going to move.
Need an answer to that question.
I haven't understand it. I don't.
Up to you.
I don't think we need to.
He just needs to respond.
I'm going to move on to Councillor Daniels.
Mine's just kind of like an idea. I love that there's the maps and there's the missing links and all that sort of thing. Just wondering if it might be possible to do something similar to the road renewal map, where people can look at the area and the parts that are missing and potentially going to be linked in, and potentially something like how you sort of dob in a pothole. Maybe people can dob in missing things like that, make it so people are feeling more heard and do it in a simple way.
Great idea.
Could I get the points that were raised then in the minutes, Chair, just so that I know they're not lost, since I couldn't get a response?
Councillor, you're welcome to provide feedback as part of this strategy when it goes to all councillors. Councillor.
One more question, just wondering whether the markings on the cycleway are included, how they're marked, is it specified? Firstly, and so second part of it.
Is that like the signage and?
You know, the lines and things to.
Okay.
And also, one of the issues been raised within a number of times, both up north and on the peninsula, is killer bollards. A number of people have been injured by bollards strategically badly placed. And I'm just wondering if the strategy deals with that.
The strategy has to be updated, so that is included.
So Mark, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We will now move to the recommendation. And as I mentioned at the start, I've put forward an amendment just to the recommendation that's in the agenda, just to thank the community for their feedback, as there was quite a substantial number of comments and recommendations from the community, and I appreciate that they've been involved in this process. And I've also specifically put in there a request for the director to provide the draft strategy to all councillors by the end of this week, and that will enable everybody to have an opportunity to provide any additional feedback on top of the workshops and anything that they have been providing in that original consultation today, and that will need to be provided by the 30th of April to allow the director to consider that for the strategy to come to the council meeting in May.
I'll second that.
Just before we proceed to that, I think just sending off feedback to the director doesn't really adequately provide an opportunity. I'd very much like to have a an opportunity for all councillors to meet with the director, or maybe the more appropriate person, this person actually working on the strategy, to give back directly, because sending off just a list of things, often you may not necessarily get a full understanding of what we're talking about. And this is really very crucial. So you should very regularly raise with various aspects of this. I think it's really important. So
I think
have a workshop as well. That would be great.
We have that workshop.
I was wondering,
but
So long as it's not decision making.
I think providing feedback, and I think in the same way that councillors know that they have an opportunity to speak with directors when they need to about different matters, I think I'll put that out there now that any councillor can send an email to the director and request some kind of time for that, in addition to providing written feedback.
Well, I might, if there's going to be resistance, I might formally move an amendment to the proposition that's before us. That put in a inserted 2, so I think 2 and 3 then become 3 and 4. That a workshop.
I don't think we can have workshops.
We can have
workshops.
We can't have a briefing. It's not decision making. I'm quite confident. I've read. Yeah, I'll formally move. I'm going to formally move. So yeah, I think.
Can I ask a question of the director?
No, I'm moving a motion. You can't interrupt in the middle of moving.
It's actually an amendment.
But it's an amendment to the motion. I don't feel that we should allow, just because they're in the same political party, that you just allow them to talk.
Councillor Neal, please, Councillor Neal.
That a workshop.
Councillor Neal, please withdraw those comments. Comments that you just made.
That you shouldn't allow him.
Councillor Neal.
I'm going to repeat what I said. What I said is you should not allow him.
Councillor Neal, I'm asking you to withdraw those comments.
There was nothing to withdraw. I asked him.
It's disrespectful. Please withdraw those comments.
Not withdrawing. It's ridiculous. What I said is you shouldn't allow him to do it.
Councillor Neal, I'm going to ask you for a third time.
That's fine.
Are you refusing to withdraw them?
I am. It's ridiculous. There is nothing in that it is in any way disrespectful asking you not to do something.
I've not done anything. I've asked you to withdraw comments. Please move the amendment.
2, that a workshop be arranged prior to the next council to provide the opportunity for councillors to receive further information about draft strategy and to provide feedback to the director and other officers who are preparing it.
I'm happy to second. Are you looking at?
Well, I might include it, but I'm going to allow questions.
Well, can I just fine tune that? Can we put a time frame on that? Is it before the next?
I said before the council.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Director, through you, Madam Chair, are we able to have one
To give feedback.
of the code of meeting practice?
sorry,
Through you, Madam Chair, are we able to have workshops as part of the code of meeting practice?
I understand workshops are permitted. But I'm not sure the timing is actually going to work. If we work this back, logically, I'm allowing for a couple of weeks for everyone to provide feedback. If there was anyone that they needed to have a little bit more information, happy, I'm allowed to provide advice, on this, around clarity. I think having a workshop, the preparation to do that versus maybe a couple of
I don't think we can have. That's you can have workshops, but you can't have a private discussion between directors and leading up to it. No, you can't.
Can we just put the motion, then see how it goes, and then worry about it?
Okay, Councillor Smith, would you like to second that amendment?
I would. I mean, I would like this to succeed. So I'm just like, this is an optional workshop, scheduling a time. Surely that's not a difficult thing to do.
Be another time for a workshop after it goes out on exhibition before it, when it comes back.
Look, there are many options because this is to go out for exhibition. Okay, so once we get responses as part of the exhibition, and that as well, like it may change the actual draft strategy to be proposed to council. So there is, a fair bit of opportunity. I think the plan I had in the slide was getting to council August after that consultation process. So this is purely to go out to exhibition.
Sorry, can I just be clear? When it says prior to the next council meeting, I don't think we're meaning the April meeting. We're talking the May meeting.
Correct.
And what's the date that the business paper needs to be finalised for the May meeting? Because I think it just needs to be happen. I understand what you're saying about this is just about going out on exhibition, but it would be better if councillors had valuable input that what they suggested, if it was accepted, went out on exhibition rather than be part of the last minute.
Because he doesn't.
There's also been councillor workshops where the majority concern raised by council was those missing links, and it actually aligned very well. Councillors were saying, what the community have been saying, and that's what's been included in the draft strategy. I think you run the risk of these having to go to council to make a decision about what you might want to do for a workshop. So that's I suppose the part of the issue, that these minutes would go up to council in April, recommendation, and then we've been having discussions.
Going to get my meeting.
Thank you, Director. So, Councillor Smith, are you moving?
Yeah, look, I don't understand what the big deal is in making a workshop time available.
Are you seconding this as it is? Okay, thank you. I will now put the amendment.
That's a question. Are you?
I've put the amendment, sorry, councillor. All those in favour? Councillor Smith. Councillor Neal.
It's quite
All those against?
unnecessary to be named like that.
Councillor Wright, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Daniels. Excellent. Did you put your hand up twice?
No, I was only up once.
Okay.
You counted me.
The amendment has failed. I will now put the original motion that was on the screen.
So is this a recommendation going to council? It's not such.
It is a recommendation.
Okay, can we just
Recommends that the committee. Sorry, Councillor Smith.
that the committee recommends?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Recommends
To the council.
Recommends to council.
We need to change that. But actually, nothing will happen till after it goes to council. You're suggesting direct.
Well, formally the minutes go to council to get adopted.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but we can still do things.
Yeah, that's right.
Informally, this is requesting that we are provided with this draft strategy this week, and the director has said that that can be accommodated. So councillors will receive this document, the actual draft document this week, and can start providing their feedback accordingly.
So I'm just clarifying the director was saying earlier. You seem to be suggesting that none of this action will take place until it's adopted by council. Or a
So I've got delegation to be able to undertake certain actions, and those actions I'll be undertaking.
okay, but you of your view that you not directed until it's actually adopted by council. You're not strictly required to.
When it's around instructing CEO to undertake a workshop, something that will go to council. And that's not what's being suggested up there.
Okay, I'm now going to put.
Can I just
motion.
clarify?
I put the motion.
But I need clarification so I can vote one way or the other. Is the consultation report, the report on consultation to date, and is that going up now or before the meeting? It's not the consultation report after it goes out on consultation. Is
So
it?
that's what we have in our agenda.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
All those in favour of the motion that appears on our screen? Councillor Smith, Councillor Wright, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Stanton, Councillor Daniels. All those against? Abstain, Councillor Neal, which is an against. I'll now move to item 2.2. Is the improvements to building related capital works process, and I will pass over to the director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a response to a council resolution where a couple of changes were put up through the finance report and not the quarterly adjustment report. They related this back in November 2025, related to some fire compliance work that was spread over 2 years and some HVAC, so air conditioning at the art house. So the report just goes through a little bit of detail around how we're working with our facilities and asset management, our assets team, around making sure inspections, the condition assessment, builder reports are all consolidated, and there is consultation with property owners or the occupants in relation to that as well, to get a streamlined process. So that, together with what we've got coming with Technology One, we'll be able to forecast better and advise at times that we'd have to do those sorts of things. So that's what was requested by council. That's been provided for information.
Director.
I'll move the recommendation.
Yes, Councillor Eaton, do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Wright. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Over to 2.3, which is the capital works update. And just quickly before I hand over, I just wanted to thank the staff for taking on some of the feedback about this item, and it's been reworked to provide councillors with a more complete picture and a better informed position on the council capital works program. So over to the director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, there's some refinements there, which was exciting. As of February, the expenditure in our capital works, was phased at about 140 million. We'd spent 133 million dollars. Our KPIs are at 90%. We're tracking at 95%. Understanding that there's also some delays that we could see in our programming. So some of the footpath projects have been delayed with Aboriginal heritage investigations. So on the 24th of March, we identified some works that we could bring forward to offset some of those works that were delayed. So mainly around roads and car parks. And we also had the urgent works around the Incumba sewer tunnel. So information to provide the report. I think there's some things that did happen. Council also on the 24th of March approved significant expenditure in the Buttery Cell 4.5 development. We've released Stein Road to stage 2, down to tender.
Yeah, you got to ask that, didn't you?
I know, I wasn't going to leave that one alone. And we've actually finished some works, in Wiseman Ferry Road and Settlers Road. So, that's something that has hit the social media in relation to some completion of some fairly major capital works that's turned single lane road that connects Spencer to Wiseman's Ferry to the dual lane that it needed to be. That's information.
Are there any questions? Councillor Eaton.
Just Mannering Park Cycleway. Just wondering, it's underway. How do we come to decide on that particular project? Because it just doesn't seem to link to anything, any significance.
That's really interesting. It was an electrical commitment and we got some grant funding. So I think most of that funding, memory, I think it's around it's about $8 million that we got grant funding, and $5 or so million is developer contributions.
See, I don't think it's a particularly good use of development. As I said, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't link anything.
And look, from my perspective, there's a lot of lobbying, a lot of requests for that particular that cycleway, that for sure. So it is in the program.
I know, I mean, I'm not going to stop it because it's well underway.
I don't think you had the capacity to.
No. And the only other one I had was Charmhaven, where most of us went and were part of the groundbreaking, the sewage treatment. But I didn't realise it's like the contract was 140 odd million, which is construction, but the total is a lot more than that, isn't it? 200.
Yeah, I can't talk specifics, but I know that there is contingencies with those sorts of projects.
18,000.
That's the budget.
Councillor Neal.
The intersection of Ocean Beach and Rawson Road, planned for this financial year, do you think it really will? It says commencement the 7th.
We'll be getting an update on that on our next item as well.
27. I thought it was next financial year.
2.4, I'll be
It's our next item.
having update.
So the question is, will it not be next financial year?
It will be in next financial year as well.
Okay. And just in relation to the expenditure, every time I mention 46, or I think at one stage it was 48 million for a traffic roundabout going to traffic lights. And I have to say, I find it hard to understand how it is. Well, so I find it hard to explain to other people how it could cost that much. Have you got any pointers that might be useful for the community to explain why it costs that?
Through you, Madam Chair, there is significant property acquisitions for this project. We've had to purchase one site, which is the 46 to 48 Ocean Beach Road. It's the old paint site. There's also a whole number of slivers of front yard that also need to be acquired, and there is also other obligations with business owners that is part of the process.
So you'll be paying compensation for the disruption?
There will be process around that, yes.
Councillor Wright.
Just on Stain Road. So
Couldn't help yourself.
Not all, so.
You've waited multiple agendas for this.
I've waited agendas. For a layperson like me, it says request a tender has been issued for stage 2. How long does that sort of process take? Obviously, appreciate it's a decent sized project.
That's progressing well, as I understand it, and then the construction will take about 12 months.
Do you have a rough start date for?
I don't know if we got any through you, Mr. Andrews.
Tenders have closed and they're currently under evaluation. So once we go through that evaluation process, award the contract, then we'll have a better idea on start dates and program.
Roughly speaking, if you don't want to commit to that, that's fine.
It's likely to start this financial year.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where I'm expecting it to land, unless there's some complications with the assessment of the tender. But this side of the financial year, I'm expecting to start. Then, a 12-month or so delivery while we're getting stage 3 and 4, and then that would tack on.
And then from a financial perspective, that road was obviously funded under the previous federal government. Has that money been sitting in our account since?
Doesn't sit in our account.
So it sits within the federal government. Okay. But so when was it first committed, just to clarify? When were we first aware that the project was going ahead? Was that like 2022?
Oh, I couldn't tell you the start.
Busy financial year ahead.
Sorry, I got one more if I can.
Yes, councillor.
The animal care facility.
Yeah.
Favourite project.
Doesn't seem to be, the fast tracking doesn't seem to be terribly
Does that
on track at the moment. But I do note that it says the principal design consultant tender expected to be released mid-April. Well, I kind of think mid-April is about tomorrow.
There's someone keen to answer the question.
Yes, we have a-
But good.
at least as I
Good.
It's been released. It was released last week. So it's in market. This report was written.
No, it's written a while ago. That's why I wanted
It's
we try and get it.
in the market.
So to your point, I know you've raised this, previously, councillor Eaton, and a couple of steps that we've undertaken is while releasing the tender, we've had it at our anticipated timeframe, and we've also got half of that also as an optional, like as an alternate tender to be considered. And that's also the philosophy that's going to be undertaken for the delivery. That if there is some significant cost differences in that, it may be something that I bring to council. So that is some of the strategies that we've.
Are you clear what he said? I wasn't.
Yes, reasonably. In other words, they're putting out the ability for tenderers to do it quicker and then at what
And they'll
cost
cost
differential?
that, and then we need to,
Yes, and then if it's significant cost, the council can make a decision whether how we fund.
yeah,
money.
that's right.
So I did understand it.
All right.
Yes, that's
Thank-
spot on.
Thank you for your response. Thanks for all the questions. I will move the staff recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wright, thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. And we'll now move to 2.4, where Councillor Neil will have all of her questions answered about Ocean Beach Road and Wilson Road upgrade. Director.
I'm not sure if I've got anything more to add. I think I've answered. This project is a significant project going from, as you said, Councillor Neil, around about to signalised treatment. I tried to put a bit of a diagram without going into too much detail, showing the lane sort of configuration. So you end up getting right turn lanes, etc. In Ocean Beach Road. So there's 3 lanes going into the intersection on both of those legs. With Rawson Road having 2. So it's obviously been designed to improve that traffic flow in that particular area. Some notable activity should happen in May. So we are looking here or May this year in relation to 46 to 48 Ocean Beach Road. So it's the old paint shop. We're going to be looking at cutting that first and then demolition, because that's going to be the site compound for construction. So they're the things that have been thought ahead, obviously, to be able to facilitate the delivery of this project. It is going to be another set of consultations going out to the community in June, and council will get a report through the Environment and Planning Committee. I think it's either May or June, just in relation to the related property acquisition process. So we have been to council previously for property acquisitions. As the detailed design gets closer, that does change around a little bit. So that's why we're going back to council through the Environment Planning Committee in May/June. And yeah, it doesn't look like it'll commence. I think it's the start date. The actual anticipated in the ground wouldn't be until at least May 27. Is the plan.
One of the things that I want to actually make sure you've considered, there's obviously a big desire on the part of the community to deal with the level crossing. and the options in terms of taking it, I think, cars drive through it is quite limited. One of the few opportunities, there was an attempt to get an additional access through the railway underpass, which has tried several times and failed. Engineering issues involved with the railway line. So probably one of the few options remaining is a flyover. Is that going to impact on that intersection if that occurs in the future? And has there been consultation with as well as government to ensure that's taken into account?
From my perspective, a flyover in this particular location is cost prohibitive. What I can share is that Transport for New South Wales, have committed to an upgrade of the level crossing to a signalised treatment. And
yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so that's what's happening at that particular. I think it's Railway Street and Dawson Road. Yeah, so that's a significant cost, and that will go through their design process in relation to that.
And you've taken that into account in terms of
yes. Section. And that's something that we do have some planning, and I've asked, to make sure that both sides are considered during construction due to potential conflict.
Yep. Councillor Smith.
Can I just ask, what's the current capacity of that intersection and what will it be upgraded to in terms of volume?
I don't have that data, but I think it goes from a level D to a level B or A. So what that means is it goes from like a 5-minute wait to a 30-second wait, that sorts of thing. So it's a significant change in relation to the level of service, and that's how you look at those types of intersections.
Okay, the report actually says that it's about supporting growth on the Woy Woy Peninsula. So I was wondering what that growth projection was in terms of that intersection. And I guess my second question, which I'm sure, so does improving that intersection just move the choke point somewhere else, or are the adjacent roads already increased capacity? So it just addresses the bottleneck.
My understanding is it is just impacting on the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Because if the design of a route is not going to get the flow through the intersection.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Not during the methodology, I'm just asking the question. So can you get some information about that capacity question, please?
And just a quick note on that from me as well. I mentioned to the director before about it, but I'm also pleased that pedestrian facility will be upgraded with the traffic lights, because the current zebra crossings are in kind of dangerous locations coming out of certain businesses. So this will certainly improve that safety aspect as well. I will now move the staff recommendation that's on the screen. Councillor Eaton, second that. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. And now for our final item, item 2.5. And before I hand over again, just to note that I'm really pleased to see this kind of update in our agenda. This is something that I'm pretty focused on in terms of getting more information out in our community about projects that we are doing, and the sheer quantity and the quality of them. And I think showing this is really important across our network, and we've specifically curated this particular item to have all of the photos, and I think that really helps councillors and also the community to connect with the material and the work that they can see within the community. So I will pass back over to the director.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I suppose I'll start with, I've named on that we've got over 2,200 miles of road, so we've got a huge network, and this is just an element of what we're doing. Having said that, I have to agree with Madam Chair in relation to, there is some really good work that councils, teams and staff are doing in capital works. I know this is just focusing on, roads and footpath and car parks, but you do get connection with having that, visual with the photos. It's something if councillors want access to those photos, we can provide that. If there's other promotion or socials that councillors want to do, so we've tried to share it around across the entire network so that you can have a look for yourself, and hopefully this is something that is like, if it's positive, and we thought we'd give it a go.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this itself is good information, as in it's something we've asked for previously, because a lot of heavy patching work goes on in various suburbs, and unless you drive past it, you're always aware of it. And I think it's good to be able to say to the community when we're out there on the front line, if you will, that things are getting done, and you might have noticed this happening in your area. Because often, like there's in my ward, I go to about 7 or 8 community meetings on a regular basis. And every time I go to one of those community meetings, they say my suburb gets nothing. Nothing's ever happened in my suburb. We haven't seen roadworks here for 600 years. And I think it's true. I think what this does is equip us with some information, certainly not in my suburb, because I'm such a great local councillor. But I think what would also be more beneficial is some forward-looking information, particularly at this time of the financial year, because the more astute community groups are looking at the 10-year road renewal map, they're looking at the capital works map, and the community in Davistown, for example, is saying to me, hey, we've got $1.2 million worth of work on here for this current financial year across 3 streets. Is it going to get done by the end of June? We would have thought we would have seen some activity by now. Is it not going to happen? Is it delayed? So I think, one, that information would be useful for us in terms of how things are tracking in the current financial year, particularly as we get to the second half of the year. One thing I've sort of observed and spoken to the director of that is I think we seem to do a lot of the road work in the second half of the financial year using the first half as planning. So maybe in the November meeting this year, we can start to have a look at that pipeline, because the other thing it would do is also cut down on things like councillor information requests, because ahead of going to a community meeting, I'm sure it's the same for all councillors, they're going to say, what's the update on this, what's the update on this, what's the update on this? So I think having that information to hand might make it a bit easier as well. But one thing I did find quite promising from the director,
I'd say 95%. There's a couple of micro-surfacing treatments that have changed the requirements. So sometimes, so that's it's almost like liquid road. It's a very thin surface, and because we've tried to get ahead of ourselves, it's meant doing the planning and study a little bit earlier, it's deteriorated more than we anticipated. So there's a small amount, might be 1 or 2% that might just fall over into the next financial year.
One thing, if I can ask a second question, one thing I think that would be of interest is, particularly at a committee meeting like this, where you've got the director and you've got the staff who are all experts in the field. I think even throughout the course of this meeting, you've raised some things that we might not have previously been aware of. For example, like you quantify roundabouts based on capacity for how long it takes someone to drive through. And I think maybe perhaps we could have something in the next committee, or maybe it's a separate session, on just some basic information about how some of these projects happen. Like, for example, one question I sit and think about now, based on the information I had previously, was what is the usual time it takes for a road after the tender's awarded? How long does it normally take to construction? Because no doubt that's going to happen at some point. There's going to be another road and the tender's finalised, and I say, well, how long does that take? Because for me, it could take a week, it could take 2 months.
Take 3 months.
But the other...
So 2 years if they have
Exactly.
legal issues.
But The other thing is, which I've noticed more and more of, which I'd love to get some understanding of, and I can link it to the agenda. It's because it's throughout these documents. You know,
It's a very roundabout question.
when people get their road resurfaced, they think of the creme de la creme road. Evoca Drive through the shopping precinct springs to mind. That road is immaculate. But some suburbs where you do like the spray seal, I get a couple of people going, you know, oh, it's not the nice smooth surface. It's not the proper. When are they coming back to finish it? I think Boongala Avenue is one, Coast Road is one. Why do you decide? And this isn't a critique; it's a question. Why do you sometimes do the spray seal and sometimes do the nice smooth surface? Like
we had this in a workshop about a year ago, and they presented the 4 pictures, and it depends on the road, depends on the age, depends on.
Potholes.
It's essentially,
Hatching.
it's essentially,
Yes. Reconstructing.
it is essentially, to answer it in simply, it's like for like.
okay,
So if you've had
Doesn't tell you anything. does it?
a spray seal, you give it a spray seal.
But some of us
Well,
is there a like, because again, I'm giving you some insights into what the community is saying, but sometimes they go, well, how come we got the spray seal?
look at the councillor.
Yeah, well,
I think
council's got to skin the game
I'm happy to take that feedback on board, and we can
about the Q&A style session.
about potential future agendas and having a look at some more background information as to how the teams look at projects. And yes, Councillor Neil.
I've just got one question. When we did the $20 million, we decided to escalate or fast track some of the roads. Remember our little session where we all, did you actually change the 10-year program arising from that decision?
it has to, yeah.
Yeah, just making sure,
Yeah.
because I spoke to you briefly after that, you hadn't done it then, so I just wondering if it's done now. Okay, cool. So that's, and when we do the additional money for the roads in this budget, assuming adopted, will we do another session like that?
I think that's only about $13 million you gave me.
For God's sake, there's more than other people got. It's no whinging.
And you got another
And heavy
4
patching.
million for heavy patching. Yeah.
We're not forgetting. Are we going to have a session where we decide the priorities?
I wasn't planning on doing it for that one. Let me have a think about what the
It would be very popular if you did.
I'm not.
You'd be loved by all.
It's okay.
You just have another fight.
Councillor Smith.
Can I just ask, I noted in the list, there's work being done along between Coorong and Bangalow. You might not be able to answer the question, but is there any plans for the esplanade between Umina and Coorong? Is that sort of on the schedule? Obviously not for this financial year, but is there anything?
I know there's a missing link there that needs to be done.
Near the surf club.
Near the esplanade, but I don't have the details.
Yeah, there's certainly Councillor Neil and I met with the local community, and I guess they're very keen to have a conversation with council about that stretch of road. So that's not on anybody's radar at this point.
The first response I would say is have a look at the 10-year road renewal map, and I just don't have it at the moment.
Okay, I don't think they're just talking road renewal, but okay. Maybe I'll submit that.
Thanks, Councillor.
On with the recommendation if we're done.
I'll second that as well. All those in favour?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much all. I note that our next meeting will be at 5 p.m. Tuesday, 9th of June here at the Wyong building. And I now declare the meeting closed at 6:24. A great meeting. Thank you, everyone.